Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Yes, we are doing ABS problems today. So we have a 2003 1.6 Ford Focus and we have an ABS light on. Now the first thing you really need to do with any kind of these problems is get it plugged into a computer to see exactly what's going on. So that's what we're going to do first. Now hopefully you can see that properly. I'm using a Delphi system. That's the diagnostic system that is attached to this at the minute. And as we can see, it's saying right rear. So RR means right rear, tone, ring tooth missing failure. Now, basically what that's trying to tell us is there's a problem with the ABS pickup, because normally speaking, now you can't go off these properly. Even with a computer, you can't go off it properly. It just gives you an idea. Normally, if it's the ABS sensor that's gone, it would say right rear ABS sensor fault, or ABS sensor to ground, or something kind of along them lines. So we'd be pretty certain it's not the ABS sensor at fault. But again, we can't be 100% sure, just kind of pretty certain. It also could be the wheel bearing. If the wheel bearing is that badly gone and it's shaking, well then that also wouldn't be letting the ABS pick up properly. So now we've got an idea and we know which wheel it is. Let's get the wheel off and see what is wrong. Right, so now we're at the wheel it says we had a problem with. Now, if you want to know how we got to this stage, I have done videos on wheel bearings, on how to do these back wheel bearings. I've done one on a Focus, and I've also done one on a Fusion. Now, they're identical, so if you want to know how we got to this part, you can watch them videos. So, it says we have a problem with the tooth pickup, but there is no tooth pickup on this particular one. There is a magnet pickup, but it's essentially the same thing. So I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm going to take this off. I've got it off, but I haven't completely taken it off. And let's see exactly what's wrong. So I'm just going to take this off first. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but right here is where the ABS ring is, or the ABS sensor is. Now inside here, oh, well, there we go. We can clearly see what's wrong. This is the pickup, the magnet pickup for the ABS sensor. Now, I don't know if the camera's showing that up, but how pitted that is as if someone's got a wire brush to that and just completely destroyed it. I don't know. There we go. You can see how bad that is. So we definitely know 100% that this pickup is gone. That still doesn't mean we don't have a problem with the ABS sensor. And like I said, you could also have a problem with the wheel bearing. So before you take the wheel off, if you spin the wheel and make sure there's no play in the wheel, I meant to do that on camera, but I did forget. So spin the wheel, make sure there's no play. If there's a lot of play in the wheel, this magnet pickup, if it's moving away from the sensor because it's doing this, can also cause the same problem. So that's one thing you want to check first, just to make sure that there's no play in the bearing. Now we've got no play in the bearing, and we've just got that as a problem. So in preparation for this job, what I did is I ordered everything basically, just because I can't be 100% sure. I've ordered the bearing, the pickup, and the ABS sensor. This is the new pickup, and as you can see how flat and smooth that is compared to the other one. So that's the big difference. Also, we've ordered the ABS sensor. Now, like I said, we might not have any problems with these, but I've ordered them just so I have them, because otherwise I'll be waiting another day for this, and before you know it, this job could take 3 or 4 days because I'm waiting on parts. So obviously I can't afford to do that. The customer needs his car back, so that's the way we do it. Just makes our life a lot easier. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to replace this pickup, put it back, and actually see if it solves the problem. If it solves the problem, all well and good. If it doesn't, then well, then let's see what the computer says again, and we'll kind of take it from there. But it can really only be a couple of things if you think about it. It can be the wheel bearing, the pickup, the ABS sensor, or there could be a cut in the wire somewhere in the ABS sensor, or the ABS pump. That's it. There cannot be any other problem with it. ABS pump is one of the worst ones to do because that can be quite expensive. Trying to find a cut in the wire, that can be a nightmare too, because it could be anywhere on the car. One of the easiest things to do is what we're doing, so it's just a pickup. That's kind of the easiest solution out of this job, but we don't know until we do it properly to see exactly what's wrong. So let's crack this on, and yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the vise, but I'm just going to put the vise on the outer lip here. I'm not going to squeeze it with the studs, because if you do, you might not get the wheel studs back on, and you can cause yourself more problems than anything. We don't need it tight in the vise, it's just to kind of hold it, makes our life a little bit easier. Now with this one, we don't have to worry about breaking it, because obviously it's already broke. So it makes it easier to take off. They can be annoying to take off if you need to save them. So if you need to save them, what I suggest is you just get a lever bar like this, and, well, I can't show you what I was going to show you. That came off really easy. But essentially all you do is just go around it like that, nice and slowly, taking a little bit off all the time, and eventually it will pop off. That came off, well, too easy. But not to worry. Right, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but there's a metal ring in here and it hasn't been put down properly. It's flush here, but it's about 3 or 4 mil here. So maybe what's happened is, whoever's fitted this wheel bearing has maybe not put this on properly. This hasn't gone down flat, it's been at an angle which is kind of hit the ABS sensor, or hit something, which has made it basically break. Because as you can see, you can hopefully see the difference between the two now. If I put more close to the camera, just exactly the damage on the old one. So I just need to hit this down. I mean, that went down a hell of a lot. I'm just gonna now that's down flush now, which it wasn't before, which could have caused a problem, but it might not have done. So that's now down flush. Now we need to get this on. Now this can be tricky as well, because obviously what we don't want to do is we don't want to damage the new sensor. Now these can just be a nightmare, because obviously you don't want to hit it with a hammer, because you can damage it. You can get special hammers. Now this is a copper and hide hammer, so that's copper and that's hide. So what I'm going to do with this, very, very carefully, is I'm going to hit the edge over here. I'm not going to hit the pickup, but hit the edge very, very lightly with the hide, because the hide is very, very soft and shouldn't do any damage to anything. Now it's going down, which is good. And as you can see, it's damaging the hide, and it's not even damaging the metal. But again, I'm not, if I went to hit this really hard, obviously it will damage it. But I'm just using the weight of the hammer on the edge here, and it is doing no damage whatsoever, and I'm not touching the actual pickup. So just go around the whole thing. And a couple more taps around here. So it's amazing just the different styles of hammer. Now, I suppose if you haven't really got a hide hammer, because they're not particularly cheap, and if you're not using them every day, it's obviously quite expensive. You can use a little hammer and be very, very careful and just hit the edge just around here very, very lightly. Again, just use the weight of the hammer. Even if it takes you 5 minutes to get this down, you're not going to do any damage. Do not even attempt to hit this hard. Just the weight of the hammer. Do not hit the pickup, because otherwise, forget it, you're done. Another thing you can do, again, if you've got a really big socket that will fit over the pickup but just hits this metal bar here, again, you can use that. There's no real tool as such for this. You just have to take your time and be very, very careful. Make sure you've got it down. But I can assure you, this hammer, it's damaging the hammer, and it's not even touching this. Now, that is it. It's gone on nice, no damage, just double check. Yeah, we're absolutely fine. Now we can bang it back on the car. Now it's a good idea, whilst you're here, just check you're not leaking any cylinders, check your brakes, give it a good clean before you put anything back on. That'll only take a few seconds. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back on now. This should just simply slide straight on, as it does. Now that's fully back. And what I want to check is I want to make sure nothing is rubbing. So we want to make sure we've definitely got that pickup down enough. It's not rubbing against the ABS sensor. This should spin really easy and nice. Now hold it, because it's the bolt's not holding it on like that. We need to hold it with our hands and spin it like that. And once you've done that, if you're unsure, you just take it back off, which is not going to be as easy as putting it on. It never is. Just check the ABS ring to make sure there's no marks on it, which there isn't. So if you're unsure, you can do that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put this on, spin it by hand again, just to make sure it's not rubbing, it's not catching, it's not doing anything it shouldn't do. Now, that is spinning lovely. You'll be able to feel it if it's binding or hitting something, because it won't be spinning as freely as that. It should be spinning as freely as that. Depending on if you've just done your brakes, your back shoes, it wouldn't be spinning that freely, but you'd still be able to kind of feel any kind of resistance as regards the ABS ring. I'm very confident with that that's not going to cause us any problems whatsoever. I'm just going to make sure this is tight. I know I'm going to get the torque police after me again. Oh, you're supposed to do it this way. Now, I'm happy with that. Put this little cover back on. Now, with this type of problem, because it's the ABS pickup, not the ABS sensor, you can more or less, 99% sure, clear the computer. When you start the car, that light will go off. It's only when you get to about 30 miles an hour, it realizes the pickup isn't picking properly, and then the light will come back on. If it was the ABS sensor, what normally happens is you reset the light. As soon as you turn the ignition back on, straight away, the light will come back on straight away. So that kind of gives you an idea too. But again, you can't go off them. That's just normally what happens. But you could get a car and you could be the complete opposite. So just give you kind of a rough idea of what to look for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the wheel back on. I'm going to clear the faults, take it for a drive, and let's see what happened. Yes, brilliant, it worked. Now, like I said, don't go off what the computer says. The computer just gives you a rough idea of kind of where to look. For example, if it says the ABS sensor is gone, well, the ABS sensor might be gone, but there also might be a split in the wire somewhere. So don't kind of just rush out and buy an ABS sensor, because that might not be the problem. Computers just give you a rough idea of where to go for, and then you kind of have to do the rest yourself. But as you can see, it said the tooth was missing, which essentially it was. Even though it's a magnet pickup, it's still essentially the same idea, and it was broken, so hence the ABS didn't work properly. Replaced it, just taken it for a drive, absolutely perfect. So, you know, you can get kind of simple problems and kind of, unfortunately, the more expensive problems. Just the way it goes, but that'll give you a rough idea of what to look for on your ABS setup. And it's more or less the same for every single car. It's just some cars have like a ring of teeth around, some cars have a magnet pickup. It just depends on your car, but it's essentially the same idea on kind of every single car out there with ABS. That's the things to look for. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe. Check out our shop, sign up to our forum. If you need to get hold of me, send me a message. And yes, most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.